fantabulous people, and welcome to another episode of the About That podcast with me, your host, your favorite geek psychologist, your favorite pop culture enthusiast, your favorite queen of the nerds, Dr. Vanessa Hintz. And today I am overjoyed to be bringing to you all part 2 of 3 of my conversation with the hardest working man in comics, Mr. Victor Dandridge Jr., as we continue to chronicle some of the pervading themes in the recent film Wakanda Forever. Now, today's conversation is really focused on the representation of Black women in the film, yes, and everything therein. So before I bring that to you all, I just want to say yet again, this is not spoiler free. Hashtag spoiler alert. Wakanda Forever is now on Disney Plus. So hopefully if you haven't seen it, you can borrow somebody's cousin's, mama's, uncle's, best friend's, brother's password to Disney Plus and watch it. So before you all get all of this knowledge, just want you to go in with your eyes wide open that we will be discussing some spoilers in the film. And so, without further delay, please enjoy part 2 of our discussion of Wakanda Forever. You know, you referenced previous conversations that we've had about Black Panther, and I am going to invite you to share part of what we have discussed before with regard to particularly the first Black Panther film, and that's this idea of misogyny, and the way that the women are treated. And so before we sort of get into that conversation, I do want to share with you all what I have sort of come to understand as the strong Black woman archetype. That we see oftentimes in creative works, also just in life. You know, we see that there is a stereotypical understanding, portrayal of Black women as like they're holding it down, which we do. They're holding it down. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the dynamics inherent in that strong Black woman archetype. And the first being that Black women have to work actively to counteract negative stereotypes. Facts. And so me being who I am is me simultaneously and in parallel trying to fight against who you think I am. And so oftentimes, if that sounds exhausting, it's because it is. Oftentimes, that is...
Keep that real. So keep that real.
I have to simultaneously think about, okay, what are they probably thinking of me? So I'm not going to wear my hair like this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this because I have to counteract. If I do, what will happen, right? And so there's sort of that whole dynamic at play. The other, which I think oftentimes goes unstated, is I am strong because I have to be. I am strong because we live in a society that does not allow for my vulnerability. It doesn't allow for me to have feelings, allow for me to be seen as someone who can be harmed. And so I have to be strong because I have to. I have to be strong because all the Black people in my family are afforded that same devaluing. So I have to be sure that we're all okay. And so oftentimes Black women it's almost an obligation to exude and exhibit strength, even if that's to the detriment of your own physical or mental health. And so that is, I think, oftentimes, again, and I think people want to lovingly call that resilience, which yes, and
right.
I want to live in a world where I don't have to do that.
Where you don't have to do that. Yes.
I want to live in a world where that's not the norm. And so the last thing I'll say before I sort of hand it over to you, Victor, that I think is we also have to remember about Wakanda Forever and Wakanda in general that's unique is that Wakanda is a sovereign African nation. So Black people in Wakanda are very different than Black people in America, as we saw in the film when we were introduced to Riri Williams. But I think that the sort of last thing I'll say is that, you know, Black people in America have a certain history and understanding of Blackness. Black people in Africa and in other places throughout the African diaspora have different understandings of what it
Very
means to
different.
be Black. What is a global understanding, though, is that Blackness is devalued, whether you
Yes.
are Wakandan or African American or what have you. And so, with that, and with this sort of understanding of how the Black Panther, particularly in the MCU, has dealt with its Black women, how do you feel like Wakanda Forever was different and or the same as the
Oof.
way they dealt with Black women initially?
All right, so before I jump into it, let me mansplain for the those voices in the back that want to put up their own shield of but my struggle. When you were talking about the struggle of Black women, yes, that also can apply to Black men. You're absolutely right, y'all that are in the back, like, but what about us? But here's the thing, the truth is we have to recognize that we live in a patriarchy, okay?
Say
And
it.
as a patriarchy, as men, we will be valued over women, right? Like, let's keep that a buck, okay? We will be valued over women because we're men. That we are Black men, sure, there will be a lower tier, but you add in that concept that in a patriarchy, women are going to be devalued over men and Blackness is going to be devalued. So Black women ultimately will be the ones that are truly devalued. Do not come at us in this conversation with a but what abouts. No. Okay. This is the simple system. You can understand what I just said. Keep it moving so we can explain how this movie both showcases and aims to address these concepts. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming to TED Talk. I'm gonna get to your actual question now. Okay. So in, in the first movie, and mind you, we like the first movie. Don't ever
Love
even
it.
come at us like, you know what I'm
Love it.
saying? Like, don't come at us like, well, you just didn't like it, and that's why. No, because we can
Loved
also
it.
be critical of the things that we love. Okay, that duality, we embody that. Okay, that is also a gift of Blackness. And you literally just talked about it, how when you go into a space, you have to think, who am I and who are you expecting me to be? That duality is our gift. We're good at that. Okay, so in the first movie, as incredible as it is horribly misogynistic. Okay, we see on a bunch of different levels the female voice, even in Wakanda, by Wakandans, is devalued in favor of male voices. The biggest showcase of that is it is Nakia. It is Nakia who first brings up the idea that Wakanda should open their borders and help the world. Okay, her and Chad, they're making the kissy face eyes, and they're having this conversation, and she says it, and he's like, "Yeah, but what about?" Not necessarily dismissing. Not necessarily dismissing. I'm not saying that he wasn't dismissing, but he brings it up as a counterpoint, but of a whataboutism. You know, what if their problems bleed into us, though? And she's like, we can handle it because we are that. If that is not the embodiment of the ideal of Black women, we will figure it out because we have to.
We will
Come
get it
on.
done.
Come
We will
on.
get it done.
You can't tell me that that's not the motto of Black women. Like, yes, we will figure it out.
I'll do it.
Need help. Boom, boom. That's it right there. I'll do it. Okay. T'Challa doesn't make the change until he experiences Killmonger's iteration of the same thing that Nakia said, right? Like, because of Killmonger's insistence and what he was going to do and the levels of which he was willing to go to get it done, now T'Challa's like, well, maybe we should open up the borders to Wakanda and help the rest of the world.
What an idea! What an
Homie.
idea!
Homie, like, you could have saved yourself a whole film if you had just talked to your girl. Like, what are you doing? And to make bad matters worse, again, we love this film, but we will be critical. When he actually makes the change, it is not to Nakia that he presents this change. He presents it to his sister Shuri as though the eminent Black woman or female voice is interchangeable. One can be substituted for the other. As long as I'm telling a Black woman it's the same thing. No, Shuri had no context for that conversation. Nakia did. It would have been that much better for him to have that realization with Nakia. And to specifically say, it might seem like I'm doing this because of Killmonger, but I'm doing this because you said it. Let's keep this real. Like, he might be an inspiration for how I do this, even if not the model of how I don't do this, but you're the reason why I am doing this. because that is an acknowledgement of her truth that she shared, that is now his truth that he's living.
Come on, emotional intelligence. Come on.
I'm
Keep
just
going.
saying. I'm just like that's just in the first movie, right? And that's an undertow, right? And you can't like. There's so many people that it's so interesting. I've got friends that I outright said like, "Yo, this is a misogynistic view that you have, and you got to address that." We see in so many ways that being addressed in Wakanda Forever. We're already starting off where Queen Ramonda, okay, Queen is in the position of power, okay? And the subjectivity of her influence as queen, without question, okay? When we see them at the United Nations and she's addressing them.
How she ate them? Oh my God. That
on every level, okay? First of all,
okay, I'm ready.
You know what? Let's keep this super real, okay? This movie aims to showcase the antithesis of what we are saying was the misogynistic voice of that first movie by not listening to female voices in that first movie. This is what we see when she walks in, hits the podium, and even though she's surrounded by guards, what's the first things that happen? They turn their mics down. It is not about our voice. It's about her voice. They are openly telling you, we might see that we didn't give enough credit to Black women voices in that first movie. We didn't do it. And visually speaking, we're going to show you that's about to change.
Yes.
If that's your problem, you need to leave right now. Because we're telling you right now, visually, you got this group of men, they put their mics down.
Yes.
It is not for us to speak right now.
So beautiful.
You know what I mean? So, and just as she continues to address, the collective political, audience and read them for the books that they are, the pamphlets, what I'm saying?
My goodness,
for the pamphlets that you are, the outdated pamphlets at that. She's showcasing so many different aspects of true regality, power, structure, mercy. Okay, like not only am I outing you and showcasing your bad faith moves against my country, I didn't kill your soldiers. Okay, I'm gonna give them back to you. Okay. But we definitely have an understanding that there was a re-education of some sort. One, you are not to F with Wakanda. Do not.
You will not.
You shan't. You shalln't. Okay. It is done. But at the same time, what we also saw, again, with female voices, okay, when Okoye told them to kneel in their native tongue, they knew what it meant. And they did it.
They sure did.
Yet again, giving highlight to female voices in a way that it was not done in the first movie. There is a correction here. There is an aspect that even if unintentional, we receive it because it's there. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those things where, again, if the creators are like, oh, I didn't even think about it that way, because you were a vessel. You were a vessel, and this came through from you. Not even your intent, but it's still here. It's something that we can pick up, we can take with us, and we can move forward with this in mind. The lack of misogyny is beautiful. Now, again, like I said, I had friends that carried in their own bits. One of the key pieces was, why can Shuri fight like she does? And I'm like, why can't she? Well, we never saw her train. We never saw T'Challa train. We never saw him train. Yeah, but he was Black Panther. We also never
saw her go to school, but she's super smart. So what is happening here?
And it becomes this very interesting sort of accidental, lighthouse moment where you go, oh, you actually have some deep misogyny in you. If somebody doesn't show you that a woman can do, or give cause as to why she can do, you can't accept that she can do it. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. And I present that to be, oh no, I'm not misogynist. Then why does this matter to you? What do you mean you didn't see her fight? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. The idea is, well, she wasn't fighting hand to hand. She wasn't using those tools. She wasn't required to use those sets of tools. But push come to shove, you're looking at the Dora Milaje as an actual elite fighting force, and you don't think that they trained Little Sister? Why would they not? What do you think is like, how do you justify this idea? what would you say? Like, oh, well, it's not like they're in a state of war. Then why did the Dora exist to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they've never been conquered, so there's no need for the Dora, but they exist. So that means that the philosophy of the Dora is not limited to needs of war. No, this is culture. Listen, as we are self-sustaining, you must be self-sustaining. That means in offense and defense. You will learn how to do these things right alongside your brother. In fact, we will probably teach you a way of fighting that will beat your brother.
Yep.
In case we need it.
Once again, we have an example of a Black woman having to work twice as hard to get half the credit. We didn't see her train. And I think for me, what was interesting when, as the film was coming closer and closer to the release, we started to realize who the Black Panther was going to be. There was like, oh, what's it going to be? Whatever. And when we figured out that it was her, I do believe that there was mixed reaction in terms of why her. Victor, that I love Michael B. Jordan as much as the next person.
Of course.
That doesn't mean I wanted it to be him. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean I'm going to, stand for him. You know what I'm saying? And so I think about how even in conversations that I had with folks about her we talked about her anger and this sort of quest for vengeance that she was on, and she shouldn't have done that. Did her brother in the first film also sort of go on a quest to hide this family secret that maybe he should have just talked to people about? And why is she expected to do something rise above? Exactly. And we know why. Just, that's rhetorical. Why is she? Why even the expectations of her as Wakanda's protector, I think it's just again, we know why, but I think again, she also, and you pointed to Queen Ramonda in the United Nations scene. Mind you, this woman did all of that after she had just lost her husband and her son. She read those people for filth while she was still grieving, and I think, and is dealing with helping her daughter manage all of this. And so I think that again, if they showed, which Angela Bassett is a gift from the gods for everyone.
She is a goddess. She is a goddess. Let's just keep it
timeless. But if they would have shown her screaming, throwing things, do you think she would have been nominated for an Oscar?
No.
Is it an Oscar? I'm sorry. Isn't she nominated for an Oscar or something?
I believe so. I believe
she's nominated for something. Yeah,
I believe.
Do you think that she would have been given the same?
No. Part of the idea of why she was nominated is the reflection of Her Majesty versus the emotional outcomes of her daughter. And really, when it comes down to it, and this goes into the female voices, lack of misogyny, and then also the integration of dynamics between women that we see later on when she addresses Okoye when Shuri gets taken. We were so just watching this morning and realized something for the first time. And this is like my third, fourth time watching this movie and not realizing something until this time of watching, which is why like rewatches are so powerful, because there is something that you will glean that's different every time. In the sense of her poise, she starts out, because mind you, like you said, she's lost her husband, she's lost her son. This is over the course of, we'll say, 8 years. It's been 8 years, right? That she lost her husband, and now she's lost her son. And to a degree, for this entire year, she has lost her daughter. Because as Shuri is in her grief, she's not the daughter that Ramonda knows, right? So she has officially lost her family, even though that's a point of contention later on. But she really already has. She's trying to get her daughter back, truly. But like you said, she's balancing all these personal emotions, but still, one, keeping her daughter in mind. So she's still mom, but then at the same time, running the country, because I'm still the queen. I have to do all of these things. I get it. I have to. Much in the same way as you spoke of Black women, I'll do it. That is her perspective, right? So when we see her break, it is when the totality of me keeping poise is costing me more. Now it's time for me to let you know how I feel. However, she does so in the safe space and in our community. She doesn't let everybody in on her business. And you're part of the inner circle, so you get to know how on the edge she's been. And Okoye walks into a situation and did not read the room correctly. Visually speaking, there's hints that Okoye is about to be dethroned as general. There are hints. Number one, the Dora are standing behind the queen, not in their perch up above the throne room like they're normally there. They are standing behind the queen. Everyone else is sitting there quietly. Even when they show her, she is sitting, touching both sides of the throne chair, arms out. So she's like, I got this covered. This is me. I'm holding this down, right? You get the impression everyone else in the room knew Okoye was in trouble. They knew what was about to happen to her. And there's a moment where you can see Okoye realizes what's about to happen. She knew she was in trouble. She knew she did this. I messed up. But she didn't realize until the queen puts her hands down and is getting ready to address her. And when you hear it, when you hear the depth, the age of her anger, you know, the idea that when my son first was seemingly dethroned and possibly killed, you and the rest of the Dora supported the usurper. Don't think I forgot that. That was 8 years ago. Sure. Don't think I forgot. I didn't. It's still here. Okay. And so when I told you don't take my daughter, and y'all both kind of, nah, we'll take care of her, I'll protect her, blah, blah, blah. And then you failed there. No, you're done. You're done. You're done. And so we see her emotionally release, but still with the context of curation of who she does it to, where she does it, and how it's overtly invoked. It's a beautiful showcase that even in her anger and grief and dismay, there's an understanding of family. They are family. Without question, they're family. There's a hierarchy. There are certain folks that are allowed to speak in that moment. There's certain folks, don't say nothing. You better don't, because mama's talking. Mama's talking, okay? And even Okoye, as the hardcore badass, excuse my French, but the one that comes in and breaks it down and says, I will beat anybody in this room. But when mama says, you're done, she's begging, right. Mommy, please, I'm sorry. You know I'm sorry. Powerful. Seeing the range and context of Black women, and not only in terms of strength of being resilient, but strength in apology, right? Okoye being able to say, I messed up. That was me. I thought I had it. This thing is bigger than what I thought I could handle, and I didn't know that. I couldn't know that, but I'm still sorry. I'm still responsible. Let me die in service to you and my country. Please. And even then, we see the resilience. She could have broken and be like, okay, fine, everything's forgiven. Nope. I'm queen. I have to hold on. No, you're done. I'm sure Queen Ramonda cried after she made that decision. But she had to make that decision. That is a key idea. For all the parents out there, anytime you've ever said it's going to hurt me more than it hurts you, that's the presentation.
Yes.
Right there.
I feel like this entire film, Queen Ramonda was the manifestation of you gonna mess around and find out. Like the entirety, her presence. Million %. Y'all tried it. You mess around and find out.
You're gonna see.
And that it's so interesting that you bring up that scene too, because one of the things that I distinctly remember from me just watching as sort of like a psychologist, and where I saw like the emotion take a turn, and it was when I think she said talking about Okoye, she said, where is her traitor husband now? Like somewhere she can go see him. And then it was like, oh, damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like now it's like,
where the lie at? Where the lie at? You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly. And I think the other thing that and this I think will be an interesting thing to add into the conversation, the way that she protected Riri without question from the very beginning. And what, like you said, seeing the range of Black women, we see Shuri and where she is in this moment. We see Riri where she is in this moment. We see Okoye, we see Nikki, we see all of these women. So tell me about what you experienced with Riri's introduction into the MCU in this way.
Ooh, okay, so I will first acknowledge that I'm not a Riri Williams fan from the comics. Okay, so her characterization design is not something that I am a fan of. I felt like she became another fixture point of the smart black girl trope. It was cool when it was introduced with Shuri was really smart. In the comics, that's not exactly how she was showcased. She was smart, but not necessarily in the same context that they showed her in the MCU. We first see her as an opportunist, or as an opportunity to see another version of a potential Black Panther figure. And that's how she's introduced, because in the comic, Shuri and T'Challa don't share the same mom. That's different. So there is something a little different in their portrayal and relationship in the books. So there's that. But the black girl, or the smart black girl trope, we saw with Shuri, we saw with Moon Girl. And then we have it reiterated with Riri, where that's the new superpower. That's the new black girl superpower. Instead of it being electricity or lightning, it's that they're really, really smart.
Because dare to dream that a Black girl is really smart.
Right, because it must be a superpower for you to be really smart. Like, get out of here. But even in the sense of her being so smart, the idea is that she's not actualizing her superhero life in a sense of that level of intelligence. Tony Stark is arrogant. We know Tony is arrogant. It has to be him, right? That's a nature of his character. Riri is not that person. So why did she ever have to put on a suit? Why wasn't it a drone that operated, that she could drive it, sure, but she's not getting in it, because why would I do that? Like, that's dangerous. That's common sense, right? Especially when you consider that in the context of her characterization in the story, her best friend died from a drive-by shooting from where they were. I think her father or stepfather died in a similar fashion. Where they were was the problem. So I'm not going to put myself in harm's way. If there's something that needs to be saved, I will remote control this thing and I will save the day like a video game, but I'm not getting in it. That's kind of contextually like one of the things that I had against that character, because just the portrayal was just kind of like a checking off, boxes that didn't really work for me. Math wasn't math, so I didn't like it. Her introduction, to really get the context of her introduction, first you have to go back and again position it against the first movie. And in the first movie, we are given the concept that there was a child of potential value who was chosen to be left behind. The men in charge made that determination. Okay. They looked at it and said, okay, we're going to do this thing. Oh, there's a kid. Well, we kind of got to keep this quiet. So let's just leave the kid. Let's just leave him. Boom. Queen Ramonda finds out there's a kid of high value. Let's go save her. You know what I'm saying? Immediately, we're getting an anti-Killmonger task force. Okay. What my husband and his crew would have done, I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm going to go get this baby. Does she have any real allegiance to this child whatsoever? No. She's not Wakandan. She has, in fact, created something that could put Wakanda in danger. Let's go get her. We're finding out people are let's go get her. Let's see what we can do to keep her safe. Very different.
Yes.
Very different. You see in Riri's portrayal in this movie, Riri is not only book smart, she is correctly aggressive. Let me say that again. Correctly aggressive. First time we see her, she is checking an entitled white guy.
Yes.
First time we see her, she walks up, snatches his phone. You did not Venmo me. I'm here for my money. You owe me. I'm not letting you slide, Kyle. No.
That was yesterday's price.
That was yesterday's price. And he's like, oh, that's predatory. Is it? Is it? Because you were real smooth to kind of miss out when I gave you what wasn't a predatory price. Right?
Are you throwing stones, Kyle?
Then you should have paid it when it wasn't predatory. You dig? You see what I'm like? So we see her already step in with that level where you go, okay.
Mm-hmm.
She is a progressive young Black woman. She is not here for the games. She ain't gonna no, because Kyle wasn't some skinny frail kid. He looked like he was definitely on the road team. You know what I'm saying? You know, he looked like he had some meat on his bones. And she took his phone like, do something. Do something. I am coming at you with righteous fire right now. Do something. I want you to. It's my birthday. Okay. I want you to get loud. And she handles it. Boom. The thing that I love that happens next is when Shuri walks in, she recognizes her.
That was, oh my gosh, yes. It was like,
it's huge. It's huge. Riri is a person of culture. It is in her favor to know who Shuri is. The idea of what Shuri represents as this smart Black girl is so important to Riri that she knew who she was. And again, in the juxtaposition of things, Shuri is walking through MIT's campus and everybody is ignoring her. Don't nobody know who she is.
A whole dorm.
Don't nobody know who she is. But as soon as Riri locks up, oh, Princess Shuri. She knew exactly who she was. So all of that intelligence is not just book smarts. This is applied intelligence here, right? Which makes her such a huge character. Huge. I'm actually excited for the Ironheart show. I have to admit that. Even as like again, I'm not a fan of her character in the books, but this right here, I dig it. I absolutely dig it. I love that again, as smart as she's shown in both books and in Common Sense, there's also a level of grounded street smarts as well. You know, I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. I'm gonna try to get out of this situation. Okay, wait, you're telling me I have to leave with you. I'm gonna try to escape. I'm not just rolling with you because you said so. You know what I'm saying? Like even if, with my reverence to who you are, you don't just get to come in and tell me I'm about to do XYZ and I'm going. No, I have autonomy and I will use that autonomy as I see fit. Don't play with me, okay? Like I understand that I have value. Okay. I am up to the challenge, hence why I created this vibranium, seeker anyway, because my teacher said I couldn't do it.
Boom.
And again, like you said, what's the response for Black women? I got it. I got this. Okay. It's here. This exists because you said it couldn't be done. Here I am. I'm queen of the couldn'ts then, I guess. Like, what do you want me to like? Here it is. So yeah, the intro to Riri was phenomenal. I remember first hearing that she was going to be in this movie. I had questions. I had concerns.
I have questions. Again, I have questions.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I don't like this character. What is this going to be? This is going to be some weird pandering. I don't like it. They did very well. Seeing the interaction between these two intelligent women, they didn't immediately become antagonistic because trying to prove which one is smarter than the other. Unnecessary. Simpatico. Our collective experience of being young, Black, and smart, and how that is undervalued by those that are older than us. Now we have a shared understanding. I get you. I see you. Without even knowing you, I see you. Respect. Beautiful. Sisterhood out the gate.
And we gonna stop doubting that these movie writer people know what they're doing, because I too was like, so we promise we're gonna stop doubting y'all.
No. We're gonna keep the doubt because you got to earn it every time. Don't. Yesterday's price was yesterday's price. Okay, you don't just get to slide just because you made it work last time. You got to keep it going. You got to keep it going.
I will amend that and say we will continue to be critical. We will continue to
there you go.
Be critical. There you go. We're critical of all people. We're equally critical, equitably critical. What I want to. One thing I want to ask you before we transition is, you are a girl dad and you are a father to young Black girls. How do you feel like all that we've talked about with regard to the representation of Black women as a girl dad, what do you think about how that might positively and or negatively affect your daughters' understandings of what their Blackness means for them?
So I want to address the negative first. And the negative that I feel it has is I don't want my daughters to think that the luxury of opportunity that does exist for these two characters in particular necessarily exists for them.
Mm-hmm.
Shuri is royalty of a non-conquered fictional African country. Okay. So some of the things that she can just walk in and the swag that she carries, you can't do that.
Yes.
Not like that, because that doesn't exist for you.
Yes.
And I don't want you to set up yourself with a sense of entitlement thinking, I can do that. Hold on. The world that you live in doesn't accept that. That world doesn't accept that, and your world accepts it even less. Okay. Like let me make sure I get that across to you. It's not that you can never get it, but you can't just go in thinking I'm gonna just be like Shuri. No. You can't even go in thinking I'm gonna just be like Riri. Riri at 19 is at MIT. That ain't easy. That ain't easy. In fact, looking at it, okay, again, looking at it, you can't complain about the work that goes into it, because here we are where she is first introduced. She is fixing the work of her white male counterparts, fixing it, which means that she's doing twice the work to get just as far. You see what I'm saying? So, like in that regard, I need my daughters to recognize that this portrayal is fantastic, but the key idea of that is fantasy. You can't go in expecting this, and to build it for yourself will take a lot of hard work. That is the negative piece of this. Now, the positive part, you aim for that. You aim for that every time you get a chance. I don't give a damn what is in your way. If it's society, if it's me, if it's you, aim for it.
Yes.
If that is the fantasy, then you live for it until it is no longer fantasy, till it is no longer science fiction, it is science fact. You figure it out, because you will.
Yes.
When you want it and you show you want it, that's what it will be. Okay. That's the thing. It is both the negative and the positive, because again, we as Black folks, we live in the duality. We manage dualities all the time. So it's cool if you come in, I don't think that I can just do it, but I definitely think I can do it. And that's two different statements. That's two different statements that only we will fully understand what that is. And that's the thing that I want for my daughters out of that.
Ooh, come on. And
I'm sorry.
No.
Where's the collection plate? Somebody pass the collection plate, okay?
Hallelujah. I think what you're alluding to is what oftentimes, and even in my time in counseling Black people, Black children, Black families, what it's like to have that talk with your kids as a Black father of Black children that other people don't necessarily have to have. And what you just said is the undercurrent of the talk. Like, do not expect this, and also don't let that be a barrier to you. So when, Susie can walk in the room and, we're just going to, jump to
Keep it going.
We're going to jump to another franchise here. I was just rewatching The Boys.
Okay.
On Amazon. Amazing. You know how I feel about Giancarlo.
Yes.
There is a scene at the end of season 2 where he said, what does he say? Like, getting aggressive is a white man's luxury.
White man's luxury. That's a
and
white
I was
man's
like,
luxury.
This was like a man that was clearly in the 1% of this fictional world, right? A bajillionaire. I can't get crazy. That's a white man's luxury. And I think that is the talk that you have with your kids as a Black parent is that. Like, and that's why Black parents tell their kids, you better button it up. And again, there are problems with that as well. We can talk about that all day, every day.
Sure.
And because I think it's like, when that's not followed up with, and you know what I'm saying, button it up, and like you said with Queen Ramonda, you do that in here where it's safe, because it's not going to be safe for you out there. And so I think that well, you just, man, we need to write it down, point blank, period. That talk that you need to have with your kids, use this film to have
yes. That's what this podcast is for, y'all. Okay. We're having the conversations that you might not have the words for. Here you go.
Yes, sir, Victor. Say it again. That is what this podcast is for. There is so much depth and beauty in pop culture for us to use as tools for healing, tools for teaching, tools for learning, all kinds of stuff. And again, this conversation is deeply personal to both Victor and myself, as Black people. And it may be deeply personal to you because of that or because of some other reason. And so I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to this. And again, I hope that you find it as meaningful and as beneficial as I did in having this conversation. And so do not forget, we have one more in this 3-part series that is actually going to be focused on colonization. So we will finally, much to my delight, get to talk about Namor. So be sure you come back for the next episode and hear the conclusion of my conversation with Victor Dandridge Jr., the hardest working man in comics. Until then, I wish you and your family safety, health, and joy. And until next time, beautiful people.